Hey man, personally, I'm tired of seeing all these fake mobile game ads. You know, the ones that be rage baiting you purposely losing levels, or the ones that you download and they look nothing like the ad. If so, perfect, because I got a video for us to watch today. This video is made by CRG Explains. This is called The Real Reason Mobile Game Companies Make Fake Ads. As always, the link to the original video is down in the description below. Without further ado, man, let's lock in.
So, you're watching a YouTube video, just minding your business, and an ad cuts in. On screen, a cartoon guy is about to get hit by a wrecking ball. Below him is a grid of pins. You can see the solution. Pull the left pin first, then the bottom one, and he swings to safety. It takes about 2 seconds to figure out.
And watch, the motherfucker gonna keep sitting there pulling the wrong ones until he dies.
But the guy in the ad keeps pulling the wrong pins, over and over.
Yeah, like if it doesn't work the first time, it's gonna work the 30th time. What are we doing?
The character screams, he gets squashed, the screen flashes red, and somewhere in your brain, something clicks. I could do that, so you download it, and it's just Candy Crush with a house in the background. The pin puzzle, gone. The screaming man, gone. What?
That's what pisses me off, is like the game could be so simply made, bro. Why don't they just make the game? Instead, they just do the ads when they could just make the game themselves. Like, you get that level like once every fucking 30 Candy Crush levels. And I hate that it works on me. Like, I hate that I get so upset watching those ads, man.
What you got instead is a match 3 puzzle game you've played 100 times before, dressed up in a different outfit. You've been played. And the thing is, so has a lot of other people. And you keep asking yourself a question. Why do game companies do this? Wouldn't it just be better to put the ads into the real game? So today we're gonna pull apart.
And also, how are they legally allowed to do this? Isn't this like quite literally false advertisement? Or because it's mobile games, it doesn't count or something like that? Because even like, for example, certain games that have been on the PlayStation Store or something that have done horrible, like they were horrible performance-wise, were like forcibly removed.
Exactly how that happened, why it keeps happening, and why the people doing it have almost no reason to stop. To understand how we got here, you have to go back to a time when a phone in your pocket felt like a tiny miracle. It's around 2009, maybe 2010. The App Store is barely a year old. The smartphones in people's hands are slow, the screens are small, and the games running on them are, by any reasonable standard, pretty rough. But none of that mattered, because the whole thing felt like magic.
They had the best games. I know he about to bring them up, but I'm gonna do it first before. Anyways, like he said, Angry Birds, like he showed, Fruit Ninja, Subway Surfers, Temple Run, the one where you beat up your boss. There was Pixel Tower or Tiny Tower or whatever. There were so many dope ass games back then, bro. What happened?
Birds dropped in 2009.
The Cut It game?
You paid 99 cents and got a physics puzzle game where you flung birds at pigs. That was the whole pitch. The ad, when there even was one, basically just showed you the game. Birds, pigs, slingshot. Download it, and people lost their minds over it. 2 billion download. Then Cut the Rope came out in 2010. Same deal. You paid $1, you got a game about feeding candy to a little monster named Om Nom by cutting ropes. No fake gameplay, no dramatic characters almost dying. Just, here's the game, here's what it looks like, give us $1. Fruit Ninja, Temple Run, Jetpack Joyride, Subway Surfers. Every single one of these games advertised itself honestly, because the game itself was the pitch. The gameplay was the hook. Studios didn't need to lie, because what they actually built was genuinely fun, and the bar for genuinely fun on a phone was low enough in those days that clearing it felt like an achievement. There was
That's a key point he said there these days. With how advanced all other forms of entertainment have gotten, especially in the media space like gaming, movies, and TV shows, mobiles just can't really keep up. Because who's really honestly playing a mobile game? Unless you're like, you have to be like in a waiting room or sitting on the toilet to be doing that. And even then, you're most likely on TikTok with an AirPod in, honestly.
something kind of pure about it. A tiny team of developers making something weird and original, charging $1 for it, and watching the whole world download it. The App Store felt like a discovery machine. You'd open it and find games that didn't exist anywhere else, built specifically for this weird new touchscreen form factor. That era had its own feel. You'd pass a phone around at lunch just to show someone Angry Birds. Your parents would somehow get addicted to Cut the Rope. These games traveled by word of mouth because they were actually worth talking about. But that era had a problem quietly building underneath it. One that would eventually crack the whole thing open. The problem was money. Specifically, the fact that there wasn't enough of it in the 99-cent model. When the App Store first opened, paying $1 for a game felt normal, familiar. It was basically the same as buying a song on iTunes or buying a CD for a game in GameStop. But the App Store moved fast, and it didn't take long for prices to start racing towards zero. Developers started dropping prices to stand out. Then, free games showed up, and suddenly, a paid game sitting next to a free one had to justify its existence just to get downloaded. By 2012, free-to-play had won, and the game that proved it definitively was Candy Crush Saga. Candy Crush launched on mobile in 2012, and it turned out to be the clearest proof anyone had ever seen that you didn't need to charge for a game to make money from it. You just needed enough people playing it. 70% of players who finished every level never paid a single cent, but the ones who did pay, the ones who got hooked,
Yeah, they pay an enormous amount because they're just spending left and right on it.
and wanted to keep going and didn't want to wait, paid enough to carry the whole thing. King went from $62 million in revenue
They're
in 2011
massive.
to $1.8 billion in 2013, multiplying their revenue by 29 times in 2 years. That model had a name in the industry. The players who spent serious money, sometimes thousands, sometimes more, were called whales. And the math that powered the whole machine was simple. Get enough people through the door for free, and a small percentage of them will pay for a very long time. One mobile publisher reportedly had a single player who spent over $1 million on their platform. One person. This
Jeez.
changed what mobile games were trying to do at a structural level. The goal stopped being make a game people want to pay for. It became get as many people as possible into the game, then build systems that convert some of them into long-term spenders. And that second goal had a completely different enemy than the first one did. Once free-to-play took over, the scarcest resource in mobile gaming stopped being good game design. It became eyeballs. By the mid-2010s, the App Store had millions of games. Millions. The average person opened the App Store, got completely overwhelmed, and downloaded whatever was already at the top of the charts. Getting to the top of the charts required downloads. Getting downloads required advertising, and advertising cost money. Specifically, a metric the industry runs on called CPI, which stands for cost per install. How much you spend to get one person to download your game. It sounds simple, but it becomes the obsession of every mobile game marketing team, because the math underneath it is brutal. If your average player ever spends about 25 cents in your game over their entire lifetime, and it costs you $3 to acquire them, you're bleeding out with every campaign you run. The only way the math works is if a small fraction of your players, your whales, spend enough to cover everyone else. So suddenly there were two numbers a mobile game studio cared about more than anything. How low can we get our CPI, and how many of our installs turn into
I just don't see the reason why you would want to get into this industry now. It just doesn't seem like mobile games are nearly as relevant as they were back in the early 2000s or 2010s. Most people who are playing them, one, have been playing the same game and they're not downloading old ones. They're still playing the same ones from back then. Like, I still play Angry Birds 2 because they got rid of the first one, but I still play Angry Birds and Subway Surfers. Those are the only two games I have on my phone besides like Pokemon Go, I think, or like the trading card game. But I don't download new games. I never really have. Maybe once in a blue moon back in like middle school or something like that, like, Singing Monster. But I never paid for them. People that play them are those people, right? And then you have the little kids who are playing on their iPads and shit like that. And unless their parent is dumb enough to save their credit card on their thing or somehow, they're not buying anything because what parent's gonna let them? That's a waste of money.
vendors. Pull those levers right and you have a business. Fail to pull them and you burn through your budget and disappear. This pressure turned user acquisition, which is just the process of getting people to download your game, into its own discipline. Studios hired entire teams whose only job was to run ads, track which ones worked, and spend money getting installs. And those teams had a tool that would end up changing everything about how mobile games.
Yeah, I think Clash of Clans is probably the newest mobile game that actually is like successfully big to the same level of the games from the early 2010s and 20 or 2000s. I don't know when Clash of Clans came out though also, so it could be from that same era.
Look from the outside. That tool was A/B testing. A/B testing is simple in concept. You make two versions of an ad. You run both of them. You see which one gets more downloads. You keep the winner, throw out the loser, make two more versions of the winner, and run those. Repeat this a few hundred times, and you end up with an ad that the algorithm has optimized to get as many people to tap as possible. The thing
Is that why sometimes as a kid I'd be watching cable and I'd see the same exact commercial twice, but just with one of them having like a shorter version where certain scenes are cut out or it's cut early or something like that? Or was that just like to save time for like the commercial slots?
Is the algorithm doesn't care whether the ad is honest. It doesn't care what the game actually looks like. It cares about one number. Did someone tap and download? That's it. So studios started feeding the algorithm everything. Real gameplay footage, exaggerated gameplay footage, completely made up gameplay footage, and over, the algorithm picked the made up stuff. Fake ads, meaning ads showing gameplay mechanics that either barely existed in the game or didn't exist at all, were simply getting more downloads than honest ones. Nobody sat in a boardroom and said, let's lie to people. The machine just kept surfacing the same answer, and people kept following it. The studio that became the face of this was Playrix, the company behind Homescapes and Gardenscapes. Their games were match-3 puzzlers with
My mom plays these games, or at least used to.
the story layer on top. Think Candy Crush with a butler named
Like, I will say that my mom is an avid mobile gamer. She downloads games and plays them. But what she does is she'll download a game or two every, she'll download a game, right? Play it for a couple months and then delete it and get a new one on the mobile app. She never pays for them.
Austin renovating a house. Totally fine games, genuinely popular. But their ads were something else entirely. In the ads, Austin was always in danger. A clogged toilet flooding the bathroom, a fire spreading through the kitchen, a collapsing ceiling. And to save him, you had to pull pins in the right order. A tense little physics puzzle that had almost nothing to do with matching colored tiles. The ads were dramatic, they were stressful, and they made you want to step in and solve the problem yourself. At launch, the pin-pulling mechanic existed in less than 1% of Homescapes' actual gameplay. It was buried so deep that most players never even reached it. The ads worked so well that the whole industry took notice. Other studios started copying the format, the stressed out character, the physics puzzle, the dramatic fail. It spread like a template. Okay, so the algorithm found the fake ads. But why do they work? Why does watching a cartoon man nearly drown in a flooded bathroom make you want to download a match 3 game? Two things are happening at once. The first one is what researchers call the competence gap. When you watch someone doing something wrong that you know how to do right, you feel an almost physical need to correct it. Your brain generates the solution automatically and then gets frustrated that nobody is applying it. That frustration is uncomfortable. Downloading the game feels like it resolves it. Royal Match figured out a slightly different version of the same exploit. Royal Match ads. Their ads show someone playing a simple puzzle completely wrong. You're watching a word unscramble game and the player keeps trying hitnk when the word is obviously think. You're watching a shooter game and the player keeps picking subtract 10 when there's a giant add 50 right there. It's maddening on purpose. The psychology is create an ad so obviously wrong that someone gets frustrated enough to download the game just to show it how it's supposed to be done. And Royal Match made $3 billion in lifetime spending by May of 2024. So that strategy was clearly
All right, but that's all right, cool. But that's when like these were just starting, and we weren't really. But we've caught on by now, right? So this can't still be working, right? Like, why are they still doing it unless they're just late to like the realization that it doesn't work anymore, or they just don't know what to do now? But I'm pretty sure I would like to hope that we've become smarter and realize they're all fake ass ads and the games suck.
not wrong. The second thing happening is something even deeper, the curiosity gap. The ad shows you a scenario with a clear problem, teases attention, and then doesn't resolve it. Your brain, which craves resolution, generates a tiny nagging loop. The only way to satisfy it is to engage, and the easiest way to engage is to tap download. What makes this especially
You know what gets me are the games that sit there and you gotta run and chop as you run, and like you run through wood or you run through the farm and you're like you just run through and automatically just chopping trees, or you're running around collecting eggs and you go and bring them to a counter to sell it or build a camp, and you just go back and forth, and it's like it just keeps upgrading, and then you start making money. And I really like the farm one with the eggs, because you can start like getting an automation going and getting employees, and you just sit there and let yourself make money. I don't know why, I just like watching the money climb.
nasty is that neither of these psychological triggers has anything to do with the actual game. Your competence reflex was triggered by a pin puzzle. The game is a tile matcher. Those are not the same thing, but your brain already downloaded the game before it had a chance to figure that out. So we've established that fake ads work, the algorithm loves them, and they're built to short-circuit your brain's.
I'm gonna say right now, my next bet for gaming, mobile gaming trend is gonna be idle money making games. Like not real money, but just games that you can just bare minimum effort and you're just making money. Making money. You just upgrade with that money. I think that's gonna be the new meta for mobile games, because that's gonna tap into like the people who love to make money, the hustlers, kids who want to pretend they're making money and stuff like that. And then also, I feel like in some way they can incorporate gambling without like breaking any laws. They definitely could.
decision making. The obvious question is, why doesn't someone just make them stop? The answer splits into three parts, and all three of them protect the people running the ads. The first part is legal. Misleading advertising is only illegal when it causes financial harm, specifically when it
Hmm.
tricks you into spending money on something you wouldn't have bought if you'd known the truth. But the game is free. You download it for nothing. Your loss is a few minutes of your time and the data it harvested from you opening the app. Neither of those makes for a clean lawsuit. Since there's no financial damage the FTC can point to and directly tied to a specific ad, the legal teeth just aren't there. As one industry analysis put it, if the ad shows something that appears anywhere in the game, even buried behind hundreds of hours of other content, it can technically sidestep the usual definition of false advertising. However, the UK's Advertising Standards Authority did manage to ban Playrix's ads in October
Nice.
2020. That was a real ruling and it got coverage. But Playrix's response was to simply add the pin-pulling mechanic deeper into their games, officially making the ads technically accurate and then keep going. The second part is the ad networks. Platforms like Facebook and Google make money every time someone clicks an ad. A fake ad that generates a lot of clicks is, from the platform's perspective, a highly successful ad. The platform has weak incentive to police content that's performing well, and a very strong incentive to keep serving it because it's generating revenue on both ends. The advertiser pays to run it, and the publisher of the app where it appears earns money when users watch it. The third part is the one that really seals everything. The advertisers themselves don't always know their ads are fake. Some studios farming out their creative work to cheap, fast agencies that use templates and stockish assets and auto-generate variations. They're not building a fake ad on purpose. They're running an optimization process, and the optimization process keeps picking things that don't match the game. The left hand doesn't always know what the right hand submitted. At this point, you might be wondering whether any of this is actually working in the long run. People download the game, find out it's not
Yeah,
what
let's
the
get
ad
into
showed, and
this.
delete it. That sounds like a disaster. And actually, the data says it kind of is. Games using honest ads kept 32% of players after day one. Games running fake gameplay ads kept 14%. That's less than half. Segwise Research 2025, the lifetime value of a user acquired through a fake ad dropped from around 25 cents to around 5 cents compared to a user acquired honestly. And 58% of mobile users said
Because, man, what am I telling y'all? We are tired of the fake corporate bullshit and the lying and all the scams and the bullshit, man. And we're starting to really recognize what's genuine and the honest shit and that's in every aspect, from content creators to, who are actually decent people and who you want in your life to, companies like this that do shady things like this.
after a bad fake ad experience, they were unlikely to ever interact with a playable ad again. So why does this still make sense as a strategy? Because the CPI on a fake ad is low enough that even that 5 cent lifetime value can go even if you're running enough volume. You get a million installs cheaply. 90% of those people delete the game within 48 hours. But 10% stick around, and within that 10%, a fraction of a percent spend real money. If your CPI was low enough and your spenders spend enough, you technically didn't lose. It's not a great business, but it's a surviving business. And in mobile gaming, surviving long enough to find a whale is the whole game. But something started shifting around 2023 to 2024, and the studios that were paying attention noticed it. Players were getting pattern literate. They'd seen the pin puzzle 100 times. They'd seen the badly played word game. They'd seen Austin screaming in a flooding bathroom. The surprise was gone, and with it, a lot of the click-through rate. The algorithm still preferred fake ads, but the margin over honest ones was narrowing. On top of that, both Apple and Google quietly started pushing for more representative ad content. Not banning fake ads outright, just making it incrementally more likely that an ad showing completely different gameplay would get flagged. Enough pressure that bigger studios started hedging. And then the really interesting thing happened. Some studios figured out they could just put the thing in the game. If your pin puzzle ad is what's making people download, and the actual pin puzzle makes players happy when they get to it, why not just build the game around the pin puzzle? Why advertise a
What?
game that isn't?
Oh my god, it only took them what, almost fucking 4 years. Jesus, what? Because it started in 2020, they said, or something, man. Like, this is ridiculous. Just be genuine in the fucking first place. Stop trying to make a quick, easy money scam bullshit. Because that's exactly what it was. They saw how mobile games were making money, and they're like, oh, I want to make money, but I don't want to put the time or effort or passion into creating something that's of equal value and shows that I have a passion in this, because I don't have a passion. I just want money. It's literally, I call these motherfuckers scalpers, because to me they're just like scalpers, like Pokemon scalpers, shoe scalpers, all that. because they don't care about nothing besides the green. And I'm all about getting your bag, but have some damn dignity, bro. This is just, it's sad, bro. It's pathetic, and it makes you have like no self-respect for what you created.
Game you made. A handful of studios started doing exactly that, taking whatever was working in their ads and retrofitting it as actual gameplay, sometimes as a bonus mode, sometimes
Yeah,
as the
these
main.
games, these favorite parts. I love those. Those I still will download on accident. Not I don't really download them much anymore, but a lot of them will let you play for like up until a certain point, like a demo of the trailer, and I will play them. I don't care. I'll stop watching my video or whatever I'm doing on my phone and play it.
Thing entirely. The ad wasn't a lie anymore. It was just an early design doc that the game finally caught up to. Whether that trend spreads or gets squeezed back out by the next round of CPI pressure is genuinely unclear. The structural incentives, the whale model, the algorithm optimization, the cheap impressions, those haven't changed. The machine still wants fake ads. Individual studios have started pushing back against it, but the machine is patient. But now let's circle back for a little bit. The data says players who get tricked by fake ads have a 14% day one retention rate, but it doesn't say anything about what those players feel. And what they feel, most of the time, is a quiet version of being laughed at. You opened something because it looked fun, and you got something designed to extract money from you instead. Think about where you were the first time you played a mobile game that actually surprised you. Maybe it was 2010 and you were on a bus and someone showed you Angry Birds and you played for 3 stops past your actual stop. Maybe it was Cut the Rope and you got weirdly attached to a little green blob named Om Nom. Maybe it was Temple Run, maybe
Yep.
it was Kingdom Rush, or even
For me, it was Temple Run. Anytime I would see my aunt, I would ask to play on her phone, and time would just fly, and I'd just be sitting there, just moving constantly with the.
Shadow Fight. Nobody warned you those games were good. You found out because the game told the truth about itself.
I
The ad
love
showed you
tower
the
defense
slingshot,
games.
You pulled it back and got what you were promised. That handshake between the ad and the actual game, that moment where the thing in your hand matched the thing in your head, that was the whole relationship. That was trust. And trust, once it's gone at scale, is almost impossible to rebuild. You can't untrain a generation of people who learn to assume every ad is lying. The players who came of age in the fake ad era already know. They swipe past. They mute the ad. They download it with zero expectation and delete it in 40 seconds. The entire emotional transaction that made the early App Store feel like something worth caring about has been hollowed out, and most people couldn't even tell you exactly when it happened. The studios doing this are not stupid. They know the retention numbers. They know fake ad players churn. They know the lifetime value is terrible. They know, on some level, that they are training their own audience to stop trusting them. And yet, the quarterly pressure, the CPI targets, the investor
Because unfortunately, the only thing that this world thinks that matters is money.
decks that need to show install growth, all of it keeps pushing the same direction. So maybe the way out isn't waiting for a regulator to draw a bright line, or hoping the algorithm eventually figures out that honest ads build better businesses. Maybe the way out is simpler and harder than that. Make something worth showing. That's all the early studios did. Rovio didn't have a choice. They just had Angry Birds, and Angry Birds was enough. Zeptolab didn't have a choice. They just had Omnom, and Omnom was enough. They showed you the thing, and the thing was worth your time, and that was the whole pitch. The studios that figure that out again, the ones that build something genuinely new, show it honestly, and let the game make the case for itself, are going to have an audience that nobody else can buy. Because you can't buy trust back with a lower CPI. You can only build it the way it was built in the first place, by making something worth showing and then just showing it.
If you want something to sustain itself and to last you a long time, like business wise, you need loyalty, customer loyalty, and that requires building a relationship, establishing that relationship and then mending to it and building it and making sure that the customer feels valued, not just for the money they bring in, but that you actually care that they enjoy your product.
That window from 2008 to maybe 2013 still exists in the memory of everyone who lived through it. The feeling of opening the App Store and finding something that had no business being that fun. The feeling of handing your phone to someone and watching their face. The feeling of an ad that just showed you a game, and a game that actually was what the ad showed. The players are still there. They still pick up their phones. They still download things. They just stopped expecting anything good to happen when they do. Someone could change that. They just have to make something worth the honesty.
Honestly, to me, I don't really care, honestly. I know we watched this whole video and you're like, oh, why'd you watch it if you don't care? I just wanted to know because it was interesting and it always pisses me off when I see it. But at the end of the day, I'm not a mobile ad gamer. I don't play on my phone. I got a PC I play my games on. Alright. So, but no, that was a really good video. That was an interesting video. I'm actually really impressed with that. I don't know what their channel is. Is their channel just all about mobile games or what? I make gaming document. Oh, fire. Let me throw a subscribe then. All right. Anyways, guys,
So, you're watching a YouTube video.
without further ado, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, put on those post notifications, man. Go check out the original video. And with all that being said, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay snazzy, and stay blessed.